As predicted by yours truly before the season even started, I said that the 49ers would not make the playoffs this year, which I was ridiculed heavily by not only you, but almost everyone I've ever talked to. And I know it's a little early and they're only 1-2, but Trevor, you got to be a little bit worried about your hometown team, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's not good after 3 games, we'll put it that way. I think that there's... What'd you say, Tommy?
We're 1-2.
I thought you said something. Sorry, I thought you interjected.
No.
Put it this way. I think there's too much panic going on right now. The press, media, people love to panic. That's the era we live in. You know, if a team's 3-0 right now, suddenly everyone thinks the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. If a team's 1-2, they're doomed. Who are they gonna? You know, they're gonna have a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. So I don't think it's time to panic just yet. But I will say that I think the Niners are being more affected than I thought and most people thought by the players that they don't have right now. And on offense, I think it all comes down to Anthony Davis, who's their starting right tackle. Big weirdo, also known as Jonathan Martin, the offensive tackle who was on the Miami Dolphins last year, involved in the bullying scandal, is their offensive tackle right now. And he just hasn't been able to hold up. And that's one of their big issues, is the Niners are a ground and pound, take possession, control the clock, run all over you type of team. They looked really impressive last week with a no-huddle offense the first couple of drives against the Cardinals. And they scored, but after that, they couldn't run the ball well. They couldn't run out the clock. You're giving the other team a ton of chances to score. And even if you're good on offense and you can keep scoring, if you can't control the clock and you allow another team to get back in it, that's what happens with a team like the Philadelphia Eagles. That's why I don't think a team like the Philadelphia Eagles is going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And that's why I think you've seen teams... Wait, let me just finish, and then it's all you.
Okay.
That's why I think you see teams like the 49ers and the Seahawks, who have been so successful the last few years, is because they control the clock, they can run all over you, and they also have weapons to pass the ball. But when they get a lead, it's almost impossible to get it back. And the Niners' defense isn't phenomenal right now because they don't have Navarro Bowman, they don't have Aldon Smith, their pass rush has been really poor, their DBs aren't as good as in years past, and they're getting lit up in the secondary. And you open yourself up to more chances to get killed when you have less possession time, and that's what happens when you can't run the ball. So I think this really falls on the Niners not putting enough emphasis on the run game, which I think they will correct. I'm not making any promises, but I think the Niners will be okay. So those are my thoughts. It's all about the run game and the offensive line when it comes to the Niners.
All right, here are my thoughts. I don't trust Colin Kaepernick as a quarterback. I've seen him make way too many mistakes in the short time that he's been the quarterback. I don't think you can win with him as your quarterback. I think the most important thing at that position is consistency. If you are consistent, you will be a good quarterback and your team will be able to win games. You cannot be hot one drive and just ice cold the next. You can't do it. It's too important for you to be even keel at that position. It just can't happen. So I think because of that, they're going to struggle this year. And it's something that hasn't really caught up to them yet, but it will. So that's my 2 cents right there. And I understand the injuries. I understand the suspensions and whatnot, and quote-unquote big weirdo, which is a name that, if I'm not mistaken, he doesn't like being called very much, so I'm going to refrain from using that term. But, yeah, it's that is your problem right there. And the problem is now he's getting paid, so you can't really pay anyone else. And now you're the Baltimore Ravens.
Well, Tommy, let's not get in the paid thing because he's on a year-to-year. They can cut him after this year and only owe him $13 million. So let's not that's not an issue. But
well, how does it? It affects the cap this year, doesn't it? I mean, it affects who's on the team right now. You can't say it doesn't.
Yeah, but $13 million isn't anything.
Oh, it's a heck of a lot more than what was he making before? $400,000 or whatever his rookie salary was. I mean, that's $13 million. What's Alex Smith making?
Yeah, but Alex Smith was on the roster the year before, making like a little over 8+ call. It's
$5 million is a big deal.
I do understand. Okay, you are right there, but I was going to agree with you with the Colin Kaepernick thing. I think he does have to be a lot more consistent. He was embarrassing on Monday Night Football. He hasn't always shown the ability to come back when they're down. Him and Crabtree have a terrible record when it comes to connecting on any type of important play late in the game. But I think he's looked really good at times, and he will be more consistent if they incorporate more of the run game. In years past, they've relied heavily on the run, and their passing game has been terrible. And now he has a bunch of weapons, but they haven't come out with a balanced attack. So all I'm saying is, if these are my keys to the Niners season in the next game or two, because if they're going to turn it around and compete, they've got to win the next couple of games. The biggest keys to me are, does Jonathan Martin still play, or do they get Anthony Davis back? Because he hasn't been able to hold up, and if they don't have a run game, Kaepernick can't get settled down, they can't keep possession of the clock, their defense has to be on the field longer, and that's how they lose games. Especially, they've got a game coming up this week against the Eagles, been red hot, 3-0, their offense looks great with that Chip Kelly offense. This will be a true test if the Niners can get back to their ways. If they can dominate the ball, I think they can win the game. If they start passing the ball, even if the Niners score a few of their first drives, the reason they've had such bad second halves is because they haven't been able to control the clock or run the ball. And if they can't do it this week against the Eagles are going to tear them apart.
I think, okay, first on your point against the Eagles, I mean, they're lucky it's a home game because that's a tough trip. But I don't think the Eagles are that great of a 3-0 team. They've been losing every single game by, I think, at least 10 points before coming back and winning. So, you know, they've been getting a little bit lucky. But I don't know. I think the problems are bigger than that. I also think once they start losing, Harbaugh's going to lose the team because when you're that in your face with your players, yeah, it's great when you're winning because they can't really say anything. But the second you start losing is the same second when the team starts to turn on you. So it's more than just losing games. It's losing the team and the team's trust in the coach. And I think that is a big issue as well. So I think if they lose this game and they go 1-3, they are in a world of trouble. A world of trouble. And I'm just talking about this year. I'm talking about next year as well.
At the same time, though, Tommy, the Niners did start 1-2 last year. And if you look around the NFC, the Packers are 1-2. The Saints are 1-2. The NFC East looks pretty weak. The NFC South looks pretty so-so. I mean, who really knows between the Saints, Falcons, and Panthers who's the best in that division? The NFC North, the Packers have looked awful. The Bears have looked okay at times, and the Lions, who knows what we got with that? So there's a lot of parity in the NFC this year, and I agree with you. It's going to be an interesting dynamic to see what happens, especially if the Niners lose this week with Harbaugh and the team and all this hustle and bustle about is he losing the team, you know, all this crap the media creates, or is the media creating this, or is it actually really happening?
Well, I mean, it's tough when you're the third best team in your division.
Sorry, what was the last thing you said?
I said it is tough when you are the third best team in your division.
Yeah, I mean, the NFC West is hands down best division in football. There's no argument there.
Agreed.